I've been training to increase my vertical for the last 12 years. When I first started, I had a 24-inch vertical. Now I have a 50.5-inch vertical, and I've trained literally thousands of athletes to jump higher. And I'm gonna condense all of that information into some of the most important pieces of advice that I have for you. The first thing, and this might seem corny, you've probably heard it a lot, but you need to have fun. Jumping needs to be something that you genuinely enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, if you're trying to jump for some ulterior purpose, like if you're trying to jump higher for a sport, or if you're trying to like win a bet or something like that, you're trying to jump higher than your peers, there's gonna come a time when you're gonna lose motivation and you're probably going to stop and you're not gonna be able to get through any injuries. That is inevitably gonna get into the way of training. Anytime you have a period of low motivation, you're not gonna get through it. When I train, I'm enjoying it, no matter how hard the workouts are. When I jump, I'm enjoying it. When I'm having a bad jumping day, I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with it. That is the entire reason I even got into dunking in the first place, because it was really fun. It was the most fun thing that I've ever experienced. And if you ever stop having fun with it, then I would look at why. It doesn't mean you necessarily have to stop or quit. Maybe you just need to look at your training and find out why you're not enjoying it. And even if it's a hard workout, the results that comes from that hard workout, that hard training, it makes it enjoyable, right? The results can be the fun part of the training. So I've kind of reframed, even the workouts that I hate, like if I'm doing high volume squats, I find a way to enjoy it. Like that feeling you get after you're done with the workout is cool to me. Like I have found a way to enjoy the suffering behind that. But of course, the most fun part is just dunking. That's the entire reason I'm even training. So have fun with it and you're gonna make a ton of progress. If you have fun, there's literally gonna be nothing that can stop you. Next thing, you have to understand that most days are gonna be bad days. Statistically speaking, half of your jump days are gonna be below average. Let's say you have 2 sessions a week, that's 100 sessions in an entire year. In a month time, you're gonna have roughly 10 sessions. 10% of those sessions are the bottom 10% of worst days, all right? So keep that in mind. You're not supposed to be jumping your highest every single session. You're not supposed to be breaking a PR every time you go out there to jump. Same thing in the weight room. You're not gonna be feeling your absolute best every time. So lower your expectations. There was once a guy who told me that happiness is expectation minus results. Lower your expectations and you're gonna be way happier than if you have insanely high expectations. So going into a session, be realistic. What are the odds that you're gonna jump high? What are the odds that you're gonna jump poorly? Try to imagine how you're going to react to it and react to it preemptively. That way, let's say there's a chance you might feel knee pain or you might have a bad jumping day. If you've gone through that in your head already and you practice how you're going to react to that situation, it's gonna be way easier to handle that bottom 50% of average days, that bottom 10% of really bad jumping days. Next, get a coach. Even I've told this to John, if for some reason we were to split apart and not have THP anymore, I would still sign up for his coaching because I genuinely value his coaching. And we always say this, even coaches need coaches. You're going to be biased in a bad way if you write your own training. It's good to get an objective, third-party view, that outside view, sky-high view of your training from the outside looking in, so that you can decide what you should do next, right? If you have an injury, what should you do about it, right? If you should jump a certain day or not jump, or do slow squats or hit it hard in the weight room. Those are all decisions that if you're doing it by yourself, you're gonna have that bias. And that bias destroys so many athletes. The guys who make the most progress in the shortest amount of time for the longest amount of time have a coach. And even the coaches have coaches. My next piece of advice, low rim, low rim, low rim, low rim. If you don't have access to a low rim, find access to a low rim. If you can't afford one, save up money for a year and get one. This will make dunking so much more enjoyable. When I first started training, I hit my first dunk when I was 16. I started training when I was around 14. I barely remember what it was like that period of time before I could dunk. I barely remember that. It wasn't a period of struggle because I was low rimming during that period of time. If you can't dunk yet and you want to have fun with it, and if you don't want to hate your existence, get a low rim and practice those max effort jumps, max approach jumps on low rims until you have enough bounce to where you're really close to dunking, then start practicing attempts on 10 feet. And if you're not there yet, use 10-foot sessions as just like testing days if you want to see where you're at. What I used to do is I would have a low rim session, dunk on there for a while, and then I would increase the rim height at the end and see where I was at in terms of how close I was to dunking. So get a low rim. It's going to make it more fun. You can also practice dunk technique on low rims so that when you eventually have the bounce to dunk on 10 feet, you will already have gained all those motor skills from practicing trick dunks on low rims. My next tip, your training has to get harder. Progressive overload. If you're not training harder week to week and month to month, you're going to plateau. One of the things that sets me apart from most dunkers and athletes that train to jump higher is I go freaking hard in the weight room. That has bit me in the ass before because I've trained hard to the point where I got hurt. But that's the price you have to pay. The mentality of going into the weight room and just getting after it and trying to do more than what you did previously is going to cause adaptations that are going to make you improve and jump higher. So get after it. Don't get stuck in that rut where you're just doing the same weight. Progress in some kind of way, whether it's how much weight you're doing, or the amount of reps, or the volume, the intensity, right? The intent that you're doing plyos with. Continue pushing harder and harder and harder and harder. And as you get better, you have to push even harder just to maintain your vertical. Get after it in the weight room. My next tip is to harness the power of habits. If you want to improve, you have to stay consistent. You can't stop. And in order to not stop, you have to build a habit. You need to build a habit to the point where it's automatic. When I wake up, it is not a question if I should skip training or not. That's just a fact of life. And my body does it automatically. My brain is on autopilot and I just go to the gym. To build a habit, there's a bunch of different tips that you can use. I'm gonna tell you to buy one book, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It changed my life and it can explain everything about habits in a much more concise and thorough version than what I can do now in these couple of minutes. But learn the art of habit formation, some really quick tips, do something for 21 days in a row, and you're gonna make it a habit. Spend 2 minutes a day doing the thing that you're trying to make a habit of. For example, going to the gym. Literally, if you just make it a habit of drive to the gym, walk in and walk out, you're gonna build a habit of it and you're gonna realize how stupid that is and you're probably just gonna go do something. But at minimums, tell yourself, I will be happy if I at least walked into the gym and I walked out. It's very extreme, but that's how I built a habit of meditation actually. I just told myself I was gonna meditate for 2 minutes a day. 2 minutes is very easy to do. And eventually I was just like, I'm already here, might as well go 10 minutes. Use those 2 tips. Oh, and the other thing is do it at the same time every single day. You can do something after something that's enjoyable or put something that's enjoyable right after the habit that you're trying to form. But yeah, if you can build the habit of just working out, you're gonna improve a lot and for a long period of time. Which brings me into the next piece of advice, which is don't stop. That is such a huge mistake athletes make, especially when it comes to injuries. It's easy to not stop when you're making progress, but the real challenge, and this is the part where you have to tell yourself, push through because it's gonna be worth it. When you get hurt or when you haven't seen progress in 2 or 3 months and you start getting demotivated, right? If you ever find yourself getting demotivated after those 2 scenarios, stop and tell yourself, this is when I'm supposed to keep going, keep pushing, keep showing up to the gym, and you're gonna get the result, right? The output. You have to find out the inputs that create the output that you want, the result that you want, and stop focusing on that output and just focus on the inputs. And keep doing those each and every single day. And eventually you're gonna crack through that plateau, especially if you're using these other tips that I just gave you. But don't stop. Please, for the love of everything that is good, do not stop. All right, this next tip, John told me this. It was from Vance Newgard, who was an Olympic weightlifting coach at NMU. And it's that injuries don't go away, they just move around. And this is another thing you gotta drill into your head. It is a myth that you can just completely injury-proof your body while training for peak athletic performance. Once you take care of an injury, something else is gonna pop up. Especially as your outputs go up and you keep pushing hard, there's always gonna be little things here and there that pop up. Like how I see injuries is it's just your body giving you signals, right? And it's just something new to improve on and to strengthen. The next piece of advice is to become a student of the game. The reason I am where I'm at is because I never stopped learning, and I love learning. Whether it was learning English and science and math in school or reading about random stuff, I just love learning. And when it comes to jumping, it was combining my love of learning with my love of jumping and dunking and improving. And if you can find a way to get that passion, you'll become unstoppable. So continue learning, read books about jump training, fact check everything we say. If you watch a video from me and John, go fact check it, right? Go to Google Scholar and look up whatever it is that we're saying. Look up friggin' fast twitch fibers. You can just look that up on Google Scholar. Or you can look up tendons on there, tendon stiffness, plyometrics, all right? Find everything. The resources are out there for you to succeed, and the more you can learn and continue learning, the more successful you're going to be. My next tip, fall in love with the weight room. I said earlier, you gotta love and have fun with jumping. Weight room work is an integral part of making progress and achieving your genetic potential, and you have to learn to love it, right? If you hate weight training, that means 70% of your time training for jumping higher, you're gonna hate. I don't know about you, that doesn't sound really fun. So fall in love with it. However that is for you, learn to enjoy the little things, whether it's enjoying the progress that you see or if it's enjoying getting through something hard, it's gonna be worth it. And weightlifting is one of those things that doesn't matter whether you're injured or not, there's always something that you can do and something that you can progress on. Improving with jumping is really freaking difficult because the ground contact times are short. The shorter the ground contact times, the harder it is to improve it. Weight training, it doesn't even have a ground contact time, right? The duration of the lift is generally way longer than they are when you jump. So it's way easier to improve on. So even if you are stuck, right, in terms of your vertical jump progress, you can still make progress in the weight room. And that is an easy way to learn to enjoy it. But the key is you have to stay consistent with it. Because if you stop, you're gonna have to start over and reset the progress, and that is not fun. So learn to love the process of weightlifting. Next, do frame-by-frame comparisons of your favorite dunker or jumper. Find an elite jumper that has your same plant and your same body proportions, and then literally go frame by frame of each section of their jump and compare it to the same section at your jump. See what they were doing differently, change it, find a cue that allows you to make those changes, rinse and repeat that process. I did this with Jordan Kilgannon and Lepek, who are both around 6'1", 6'2", left-right jumpers, and I learned more about jump technique by doing that than anything else I ever did. And you will jump higher, and it has the potential to literally improve your vertical jump instantly. Next, start meditating. Literally just look up meditation and start doing it every single day. It's gonna teach you to deal with negative emotions, negative thoughts, how to be present, and these are all things that have direct carryover to jump training. It's literally training your mind. Just how we train to jump higher, train to get stronger in the weight room, meditation is how you train your brain to become stronger and more resilient. And the stronger and more resilient your brain is, the easier it is to get through hard workouts, to stay consistent with it, and to deal with periods of low motivation. Just take my word for it, start meditating. Again, this is another thing that you're gonna have to build habits of, but even just training that and building that habit is gonna get you even better at habit formation. Meditating is one of the best things that I ever started doing for my training and just my mental health and overall well-being in general. So start doing it, you won't regret it. On that same note, stop comparing yourself to other athletes. Now, there is power in doing that. And early on in my career, I was actually very driven. I would find these athletes that are a little bit ahead of where I'm at, and then I would train to go chase them. Unless you're very mentally strong, and even then, it might not work. It can lead you down a very bad rabbit hole of mental health. If you want to do it a much better way, compare yourself to the person that you were yesterday or the week before or the month before, and continually just try to be better than yourself. This is way better than just comparing yourself to other athletes. And the other thing with that, compare yourself to your recent self, right? Maybe you hit your peak like one of our good friends in 2022. That's okay. Compare yourself to the person you were last week. What did you do last week that you can improve on this week? And if you keep going down that path, you're gonna be way better before you know it. Next is to start tracking. If you have injuries, start tracking them every single morning, how you felt, what you did the day before, what flared it up. In terms of weight room sessions, write down the numbers, that you lifted, all right, how you felt on the day, and same thing with jump sessions. Andy Nicholson from Dunk Camp, he told us about Pearson's Law. If you don't track it, you won't change it. So start tracking, and this goes with diet as well. And this alone has completely transformed my jump training, leads to less overthinking, right? Maybe it's gonna make you realize that you're not doing as bad as you thought, because you can look at how you were feeling, the week before. You can look at the things that you did before good sessions or good weight room sessions, all right? If you're stuck in a rut, you can look at other times where you were in similar ruts and what got you out of it. So start tracking as much as possible. Just be wary to not over-track. So if you're starting to become neurotic about it, I would cut down on it a little bit. But specifically for the things that you really want to improve, start tracking it and you'll do really good. Now, my final 3 things. These are just general pieces of advice that are gonna help you, especially if you're a beginner. Number 1, you're not strong enough. You're never gonna be strong enough. Continually try to just get better and stronger in the weight room, specifically with your relative strength. It's gonna help as long as you're doing number 2, which is jumping frequently. You need to be jumping a lot if you wanna get better at jumping. It's the most specific thing you can do to jump higher. And then finally, get leaner. Being lean helps an insane amount when it comes to jumping. If you do those 3 things, get leaner, get stronger in terms of your relative strength, and jump frequently, you are going to improve a lot. All right, that's it for the video. If you want to get coached by me personally to jump higher, go to THPstrength.com. If you use the code THP at checkout, you'll get 10% off of your first month. And aside from that, please like the video. It helps the channel out a lot. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.